Good morning, Mississauga. Welcome back. Thank you very much. It's as some of you may recognize me, I was the president and CEO. I retired 4 years ago. I highly recommend retirement. It's a wonderful thing. I was in Florida, at my home in Florida, and I found out that my team needed me, and the organization needed me. Or they needed someone. Not necessarily me. But I picked up the phone and I said, look, if you need help, I'm available. I'm happy to come back and fill in until you find a qualified individual to stand up here before you, unlike myself. So I am humbled to be back here. I am so proud of this team who have put together this event today for Minister Bethlenfalvy. This is the best attended event in 2 years for a minister. So put your hands together for yourself and for the team. Now I understand, who wouldn't come and see the Minister of Finance? Like I asked people, are you coming to see the Minister of Finance? And they said, Minister of Finance, is he coming? I said, oh, like who wouldn't want to be here? Like the Minister of Finance, he controls all the money, in case some people didn't know that. And before he had the job as Minister of Finance, he had his finger on the pulse of the money as well. So he's tracked the money for a long period of time. So Steffi gave me this nice script, which she reminded me I generally don't follow, but because it's been 4 years since I've been in front of you, today I will follow it as closely as I possibly can. This event is possible with the support of our sponsor, HIEC, ApprenticeSearch.com. We also extend our thanks to each and every one of you for joining us today. We'd like to acknowledge the lands which constitute the present-day city of Mississauga as being part of the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. So now I'd like to welcome to the podium to have some brief comments for this morning and a welcome, MPP Deepak Anand. Deepak.
My name is Deepak Anand. I'm the Member of Provincial Parliament and part of the Premier Doug Ford team from Mississauga, Malton. And it's always a pleasure to see Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy coming. And I always say, thank you, MBOT, for bringing these wonderful ministers. And please make sure when you send the invitation, please write at the bottom, PS. We absolutely love bringing checks. So please bring those checks. Wow. And I'm so proud of our team, Mississauga, and I see many of my colleagues here, my colleague Rudy Cazzero, MPP Sharif Sabawi, and of course I call her Super Cop because she's in part of the Solicitor General, MPP Sylvia Gulteri. Thank you again for joining, and we're proud of our team, Mississauga. I'm just going to move it here. And thank you to the Mississauga Board of Trade for organizing today's event and your continued leadership in bringing job creators and the government together to support local employers and the entrepreneurs. And of course, thanks to the Hyatt Place Toronto and Luke's Convention Center for hosting us in Mississauga, Malton. This venue reflects hospitality and economic strength we are proud to have in our community. My daughter's sweet 16 was here, Minister, and she still cherishes after 5 years. And these are the moments these places bring, not just for us, for the community as well. So thank you for that hospitality. As we all know, Mississauga Malton is a hub of economic activity, from manufacturing to logistics to aerospace to life science to recycling and small businesses. Our local companies play a key role in Ontario's prosperity in creating good paying jobs. It's great to see many of Mississauga Malton and Mississauga at large leaders here today. I see some of my friends from Greater Toronto Airport Authority, a city in a city, I call them, MHI, eCycle, Blue Giant, Microbics, and many more. So events like today bring decision makers and job creators together, creating space for meaningful dialogue about growth, investment, and the future of economy. I always believe tough time is the test time. And that's what we're talking about, President Donald Trump and tariff. But at the same time, one of the local challenges that I'm going through in my riding is the youth unemployment. And when I see the job creators, I find this is the perfect time to ask if thinking about giving back at this time, what we need is to hire, you do hire interns and you do hire youth. But this year and following few years, if you go an extra mile and hire a couple more youth, and I'll tell you, they're brilliant young minds and they'll actually give back more than what you even think of. So please take this challenge and a pledge if you can, because we know the discussions like this place are a valuable opportunity to explore Ontario's economic priorities, especially when Minister is here on a budget consultation today in Mississauga for 2026 and beyond, and to hear directly from the job creators driving growth right here at home. So thank you again for joining. Thank you, MBOT, for everything you do. I see a big lineup of ministers coming in another few weeks. Can't thank you enough. When you bring them here, you give us all a chance to work and collaborate together. Big round of applause for our MBOT. Thank you so much.
And now, to welcome the minister, I would like to bring to the podium from Ontario Career Lab, the Executive Director of ApprenticeSearch.com. Please welcome Kelly Hoey.
I don't know if my early morning remarks can live up to that hype, but we'll see how I do. Thank you, MBOT friends, for always holding these fabulous events and working with us in partnership. I'm here with my team from ApprenticeSearch.com and the Ontario Career Lab. Those are two workforce initiatives delivered by HIEC. And HIEC is a not-for-profit social enterprise rooted in career development and trusted partnerships. And we just celebrated our 36th anniversary this fall, and I can't help and I can't resist actually telling you that we were born out of the Chambers of Commerce. So it's the power of the chambers. It's groups like this that come together. You start with problems, you come up with solutions, you have committees, you have committed people, and they can turn into things like a not-for-profit social enterprise that employs almost 50 people. So that's the power of the chamber. So start with a round of applause for yourself. Works at the intersection of education and industry, serving as an intermediary that helps extend learning beyond elementary, secondary, and post-secondary classrooms and into the workplace in ways that are aligned with areas of economic growth and aligned with the labor market needs. People want to work, and they want to find work that aligns with their interests and skills, and as well as the economy. And businesses want to train, they want to grow, and they want to invest. It seems simple, but it isn't. As the pathway between education and employment becomes increasingly complex, we believe that a collaborative approach is and will be one of Ontario's greatest competitive advantages. And speaking of competitive advantage, we're excited to share with you this morning a little information. You have postcards at your table to take away with a QR code, so we've made it very simple for you. We have postcards about our new Ontario Career Lab initiative. We started the Ontario Career Lab last year. This was funded by the Government of Ontario. It's a first of its kind initiative that will reach all grade 9 and 10 students. That is 315,000 grade 9s and 10s at 73 school boards. It's at almost 900 different schools. The purpose of the Ontario Career Lab is to run an initiative called Career Conversations. And those conversations connect students with representatives like yourself from a variety of occupations and unique career journeys for short, honest career coaching conversations that build confidence and career literacy. It's like speed networking with a hint of mentorship. Last year, during our pilot year, we facilitated over 72,000 conversations across Ontario. 95% of the students said that they felt an increased amount of confidence in their next steps. They told us things like, it was fire, it was epic, it was low-key fire, and we're still trying to figure out the difference in our metrics between those things, but it all sounds good. They did give us consistent feedback, though. They all said, I didn't know I could change my mind. I didn't know that people would go in this circuitous pathway. So if we can take a minute out of our lives to share our journey, we can help alleviate some of the career anxiety that our young people are feeling. And out of 100 OECD countries, to recognize that the level of stress related to post-secondary choices and career uncertainty is at an all-time high for our youth, and we've talked about our youth unemployment rate, it's got to be a priority. And I think Ontario is the first province to address this concern by committing to thinking strategically and collaboratively. And speaking of mentorship, I also want to remind you about ApprenticeSearch.com. Apprenticeship is the original mentorship. And 26 years ago at HIEC, to help job seekers connect those folks that didn't have a network with people who were looking to hire and train in the skilled trades, is how we built that system. ApprenticeSearch.com has over 60,000 users across Canada now, is based in Ontario. Primarily our users, our employers and applicants are in Ontario, and we work with all kinds of agencies in this room to help make those connections. So as learners move towards the skilled trades pathway, ApprenticeSearch.com supports that transition. And we help people navigate that fragmented pathway and help employers connect with the talent that they need. So at the core, HIEC creates connections between people, opportunity, and Ontario's future workforce. This work really matters, and it's really encouraging to get to do more and have Minister Bethlenfalvy visit our office and see our job coaches and our diverse clients working together who are keen to access opportunities to work and grow in Ontario. We talk about the skilled trades jobs going unfilled, but we feel we can help address those matches through partnership and awareness. Strong economies are built when people can see themselves in the future and know how to get there, but they can't do it alone. So look forward to working with all of you. I want to remind you of this little postcard. I want to remind you to go out to your local high school, your community, and spread the word about this, because if we can all take a minute to help grade 9s and 10s feel a little less stressed out about their future options and share with them that we didn't have it figured out when we were in grade 9 and 10, as parents, as employers, as a province and as a country, we will benefit from that. So thanks in advance for your help with that. My last but not least job this morning is to introduce Peter Bethlenfalvy. Minister Bethlenfalvy was elected as MPP for Pickering, Uxbridge in 2018 and was re-elected in both 2022 and 2025. As Minister of Finance, he's responsible for the management of the province's finances and building the environment for Ontario's long-term economic prosperity. Through 5 provincial budgets and 5 fall economic updates, Minister Bethlenfalvy continues to deliver on the government's plan to build a strong Ontario that supports people and businesses today. And we thank you for that. Having secured 2 major credit rating upgrades and a positive outlook in 2024 alone, he has reversed a decades-long trend of downgrades under previous governments and strengthened the province's fiscal standing in face of economic uncertainty. With Premier Ford, he's working to protect Ontario from the impact of U.S. tariffs, supporting workers, families, businesses, and communities while strengthening the economy for long-term growth. Prior to entering public service, Minister Bethlenfalvy served in senior leadership roles for several financial institutions, including President and Chief Operating Officer of TD Securities and Co-President of DBRS. He has served on the board of directors of many charitable organizations, and in 2014, he joined the True Patriot Love expedition to the magnetic North Pole in support of Canadian military families. He holds a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Business Admin from McGill University, which included a year at the HEC School of Management, Paris, and a Master of Arts in Political Science from the University of Toronto. I think we're in good hands. Join me in welcoming the Honourable Peter Bethlenfalvy.
All right, Kelly, you are on fire there. And David as well, thank you. And Stephanie, wherever you are, for organizing this great event. It's great to be in Mississauga again. It didn't take me that long to get here. We actually gave more money to the City of Toronto to, that 3 lanes down to 2 lanes on the Gardner. It was going to take 3 years. Someone came to me and said, what if we could do it in 2 years? And I said, yes, now what's the question? So the question is, okay, you have to give me another $75 million. And I said, still yes. That gets us here quicker. It's productive and quality of life. So it's great to be here. I want to acknowledge my great colleagues. These MPPs, Cazzetto, Anand, Sabiwe, Kusandofa, Tangri, and now Gualtieri, you've been reelected 3 times. Folks, and councillors Tejo and Butt here as well, putting your name on the ballot, I have a lot of admiration, regardless of party stripe or affiliation or background or whatever. It takes courage and focus to put your name on a ballot, to put yourself out there and work hard every single day. And I know how hard each of you MPPs work and you councillors work every day to support each and every one of their constituents. So thank you for your service for all of us, because we're in this together. Now, I've got a few quick remarks, but I want to get to the questions. We'll move this podium so you can see as well. I've learned that sometimes you get blocked. But I do want to cover three quick things. The first thing, I want to acknowledge the environment we're in. Now, I've been through a lot of challenging times in my career. I remember I started on the trading desk of the derivatives team at a financial institution in June of '87. Yes, I'm dating myself. And in October, the Dow went down 22% in one day. That was a shock to the system. We got through that. And then we went through a whole bunch of other shocks, whether it be the great financial crisis in '08-09 to the pandemic, which we just recently came out of. The reality is the fear index, the IMF fear index, is double what it was in the financial crisis. So we're in an unprecedented territory in terms of the concerns of people. People are scared. They're worried. They're concerned. Not just here in North America, and we know the geopolitical, but right around the planet. A lot of uncertainty. So our jobs as officials is to make sure we articulate the plan, to acknowledge the environment we're in, but secondly, to have a plan to be able to deal with the world that we're in. Because the world has changed, and our plan that we ran on about a year ago, I tabled my 5th budget in May, is a plan that focuses on the challenge at hand, and primarily in the economic sphere. So let me just paint the picture. Our social spending, 85% of the spending in the budget is actually for social spending. About 15% is for infrastructure and the economy. And we've had unprecedented investments in healthcare, education, social services. But now we have 2 things, big headwind. On top of the uncertainty. One is the economic environment slowing down. There's just no question. Our forecast for 2025 is 0.8% GDP growth. We've usually been in the 2s and 3s. Nominal GDP, add the inflation. Well, inflation's come down to about 2%. So we're growing at the slowest rate we've grown post-COVID. At the same time, while our population grew by almost 2 million people, so it's put a lot of pressure on our social spending, population growth is now flattening out, primarily through measures out of Ottawa, because they're responsible for immigration. But to put a point on it, in the last quarter, we announced the numbers on Friday, population actually decreased in Ontario by 67,000 people. That hasn't happened. It's only happened one other time that I can recall. It was 4,000 drop in population in the 3rd quarter of 2020 as a result of COVID. So we have a slowing population and a slowing economic growth and a trajectory of social spending that's been, frankly, unprecedented. So we're going to have to manage that challenge. In that environment, what's so important, you touched on it, and thank you, Kelly, for those remarks, and David for those remarks. We have focused on our balance sheet to make sure that we can have the fiscal firepower to tackle the challenges. And that's why it's so important. You know, when I knock on doors, they don't say, what's your credit rating? Are you a single A or double A? They don't ask me that. But, you know, we got an upgrade by S&P into the AA category. So now we're AA with every rating agency. We got another upgrade from Morningstar DBRS. We're solid. And we issued for the first time a 30-year Euro bond. Never been done before by Ontario. So Europeans are investing in Ontario, in Canada, and saying, we have confidence in you. And why does this matter? Two big reasons. Our borrowing costs are the lowest in almost 15 years. We're getting close to pre-financial crisis borrowing costs. For those who are geeks in the capital markets world, I'm one of them, our borrowing spreads over Canada's are the lowest they've been in over 15 years. Why does that matter? That means I'm paying the lowest interest costs that we've paid since the 1980s relative to our income. Why does that matter? It gives us more money to invest in social infrastructure and our economy. It gives us more optionality. We're paying less to bondholders, and we're putting money back into the economy and to our social infrastructure. The second big reason is our balance sheet. Now, when I got into politics in the 80s, my parents lived in Etobicoke, so I went up to the Member of Parliament, and said, do you need a volunteer? And he said, absolutely. And we became lifelong friends, and I worked with him for many years, Michael Wilson. And I was a big champion of free trade, and I was a big champion of privatizing, you know, Air Canada, Canada Post, Petro-Canada, all these things that were done. To the extent, maybe not Canada Post, we should have done that one. But now I find myself all these years later, and it's almost the opposite. We're no longer in a free trade world. That ship has sailed. As much as I'm a champion for free trade and always will be, we're in a mercantilistic world. So we have to look at the world differently. The second thing is we have to be prepared to put our balance sheet to work. And that's exactly what we've done with the Protect Ontario account, investing through balance sheet, providing loans to companies who need support as they pivot from a liquidity and requirement to new markets. Prime Minister Carney has challenged us to grow our exports from $300 billion to $600 billion. And it's working. But every business in this room and beyond has to think differently about their markets. Interprovincial trade. You know, the Premier's the 1,200-pound gorilla. I'm the 800-pound gorilla. There's a 300-pound gorillas here. We're a couple tons together. We got to go faster, quicker, and immediate, getting rid of all interprovincial trade barriers. This is our moment. These are things that we can do right here in Ontario, independent of any other jurisdiction on the planet. And I'll leave you with one other example, and I could go on and on, but I want to get to the questions. The nuclear industry. My riding has 4 nuclear stations. Bruce Power has 8, and Darlington has 4. There's 16. They provide over 50% of the electricity in this province that power businesses and consumers. It's clean, it's green, it's good jobs, it's sustainable, it's long-term. Well, we just announced the refurbishment of those 4 in Pickering and 4 new small modular reactors. That's more than 50,000 new construction jobs. So when you talk about youth, where they get, this is why I'm so proud of what you're doing for careers starting in grade 9 and 10. I didn't figure out what I was going to do till I was about 21. I wanted to be a doctor until I found out I fainted whenever I saw blood. I said, that's not good. That's not good. I got to think this through a little more, and I pivoted into finance. There's great opportunities for our youth. There's great opportunities in this province. We have a competitive advantage in nuclear because we have support. In Pickering, the support for nuclear is tremendous. The support in Ontario for nuclear. Around Europe and the rest of the world, they're all going to increase their nuclear, but they're still going through a transition of getting the social acceptance for that. We have a first mover advantages in this great province. That's going to be good jobs. And guess what? Those aren't just temporary jobs. They're skilled jobs, they're engineers, they're millwrights, they're boilermakers, they're mechanics, they're machinists, a whole range, nuclear scientists. And the other point is that these aren't jobs for tomorrow that we're announcing. These are jobs that have already started. If you ever go out to Darlington, check out the small modular reactor build. You'll be blown away what's happening already on the first one. And in Pickering, you can't see it and they won't let you in for the nuclear stations, but the design work, the engineering work, the preparation has already created jobs in Pickering and beyond for Durham and all of Ontario. So there are things we can do right here in our own economy, independent of what's going on in the world. I see this as an opportunity, and that's the challenge before us. I thank you. I'm very grateful for you coming out. By the way, February 4th, the Premier. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell the Premier that I had the biggest crowd in the last 2 years. So I'm going to challenge the Premier to get a bigger crowd. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the questions. Thank you, everyone. Well, while we're waiting, are the Leafs going to win the Stanley Cup this year?
Absolutely.
I once saw, I was driving, I saw, come see the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, ... You keep driving, and you see the next billboard and it said, on the History Channel. Let's go, Leafs. I want them to win.
What's the other one, Minister? Why are the Leafs and the Titanic similar?
No idea.
They look great until they hit the ice.
Ooh, ouch.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Settle down. I'm a Leafs fan.
I thought that you said this was going to be a good crowd, not a hostile crowd.
Well, Minister, thank you so much for your comments. And I guess we can wrap it up because you covered all the questions that I have today. So, but there is something that triggered a question in me when you were talking about some of the things that we've been through over the years. And we've seen some tough times in our lifetime, you and I. There was you're too young to remember the fiasco at the beginning of the 80s. But then we had our downturn at the beginning of the 90s. We had the crisis in 2008. And we had COVID in 2019, 2020, and 2021. My question for you is, out of all of these things that have happened to us, what we're going through right now seems very different than those other times. How do you see it? Do you see it as, is this different from the other crises that we have faced? And if it is, how is it different? And how is Ontario prepared to lead us out?
Great question. You know, I've been through so many of these cycles, as you say, and the books come out and say, this time it's different, and then you get through it, and it wasn't different. It's like Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So I think about this, I'd say two things. One of the things that makes this a bit different, I'll go that far, is a lot of those crises like the pandemic created an environment of tremendous uncertainty, but it was symmetric uncertainty. Like everyone in the world was facing it, dealing with it differently, but facing when is this going to end, how is it going to end, when can we get back to work, when can we stop isolating, but we were in it together. This one is different in the sense that it's more hemispheric, if you will. I mean, it's driven a lot by what's happening south of the border. And if anyone's read the national security strategy, it's very clear and transparent what the U.S. is looking to do. It's putting America first. So that's the reality, and that's, they have a democratic system and elected the president on that mandate. But I say to myself, okay, so given that, what would we do? That's why I mention interprovincial trade. That's why I mention opening up, for example, the Ring of Fire. That's why I mention investing in our great research, like in technology, where we're a leader in the globe in AI. We got to do more and keep that talent, that intellectual property rights here in Canada, so that they don't have to go elsewhere to get investment and scale up, that we scale up here, that we look to support our own businesses in a much greater way. A couple of things give me encouragement. One is that federally, we've got a very like-minded government in Ottawa. And it's really, really important. We can't, as government, we need to row in the same direction with First Nations, with municipalities, with provinces and federal government. And when we do that, we can go faster, quicker together. So I see that's a little bit different than the previous time. The second thing I would say is I'm the son of 2 Hungarian refugees. Think about the world that they left, where they're growing up and have parents who are being shot at and bombed and don't know if they're going to survive day to day, where they're going to get food, shelter. They had to escape. My parents escaped from one during World War II, the other right after. That's stress. That's stress. And I think that's also why I'm here, and I think that's every one of you in this room as Canadians. We're resilient. We're a tough group of people. We're going to rise up to this challenge. We are going to succeed, and we're going to come out stronger than ever. So that's my message that I'm going to keep giving. I know the Premier gives that message. We're going to get through this.
When we talk about interprovincial trade barriers, I know the Prime Minister is off to China right now to see what he can do over there. A couple of weeks he's going to Mexico. We've got the Asian countries that we have an agreement with, 600 million people throughout there. There's a lot of places we're trying to go outside of Canada to build trade. Yet right here in Canada, we have over 35 million people, which is a great market. And it's easier for us to do business in a foreign country than it is to do business in one of our own provinces. So where are the sticking points, and what is the Ontario government doing to remove those trade barriers so we can actually do business in our own country?
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? I mean, I completely agree. It's completely nuts. Is that a acceptable political term, Alvin? I'm a good saying nuts. So you're absolutely right. And, the economists say up to 200 billion of GDP could be unfrozen if we did this. So that should be incentive enough just in and of itself. So we have to move much faster. Ontario has passed legislation, so just don't talk about it. So Premier Ford and the whole team, all of us, have said, let's put stuff in the legislation, hardwired in regulation. What does that mean? For example, labor mobility and credentialing, that you don't have to spend 2 years and $5,000 to get credited for something you were credited for in BC. Makes no sense. So it's not just goods and services, it's labor. All the party-specific exemptions. So there actually is a Canadian free trade agreement. By the way, we have a free trade agreement with all the G7 except for we don't have a trade agreement with Canada. They did a free trade deal in 2018, 2019, but then everyone agreed, and then all bureaucrats and everybody got involved, the special interests and whatever, and the next thing you know, you got a stack of exemptions this high. So what we said is, we discussed this as a caucus and as a cabinet. We're going to get rid of all of them. We got rid of all of them. So that's made Ontario vulnerable, but you have to put your money where your mouth is. You can't say, I want free trade, and then say, yeah, but except for these things. So we've gotten rid of all those. The third thing is that, but we can't do it alone. So Premier Ford and the team have done a remarkable job in showing leadership in Canada on this front, but we need all the provinces to agree, because it's not one-way trade, it's two-way trade that we're talking about. Ontario's leading. The Prime Minister is leading, because Canada is getting rid of all their party-specific exemptions, and we're pounding the table and working overtime and, frankly, pushing our bureaucrats and civil servants to go as fast as we can to eliminate all those remaining barriers.
What is it that we can do as a business community, individuals, business community? What can we do to move that agenda along so that we are able to do trade with other provinces?
I think it's always good. You've got great representatives here in this room. If there are examples where you have a business saying, the amount of paperwork I have to do to actually, it's more red tape to do interprovincial trade than when you started this process. Give us examples. Our Premier, many of you have his phone number. Many of you have probably texted him. He's probably called you back and texted you back. I mean, you get one example, and we go like bandits to fix that. So we need to hear from you, not just talk in theoreticals or, can you fix this, fix that, but actual examples. Each one, I'm looking at all my colleagues, they talk to the Premier talks to them all the time about how to solve problems, what are the challenges, how can we, get the blockages out of the way. And that's what a mindset, but we need your help to kind of say, here's a real example. And you'd be amazed at how far that will go within our caucus.
With the Prime Minister going to China right now, the Premier was on TV talking about his concerns about the relief of tariffs on China. If those tariffs are lifted, what does that mean for Ontario? How does it affect us here?
Well, look, as I said at the beginning, I'm a free trader. I don't think we should have any tariffs. We got to a very good place, working hard over the last 50 years to get them as low as possible. That ship has sailed. Our world is going to have some level of tariff. I think our objective should be in the CUSMA negotiations, which the pre-negotiations have already started. Officially, if we don't land a deal and renew it by July 1st, and then we'll go negotiate a new deal. But you heard the president yesterday. I don't need Canada. I don't need your products. I believe that's a negotiating position. So we need to negotiate a good deal. If it takes a bit more time, so be it. But I have full confidence in the Prime Minister. I have full confidence that he's working very closely with all the premiers in Canada. I've had the fortune of sitting around the table with the premiers numerous times. The next one's going to be in 2 weeks in Ottawa. These are good discussions that are happening, and I really see a Team Canada approach. So these are delicate discussions, be it China, the U.S., et cetera, but that's the world we live in.
You mentioned about our economic slowdown and how our GDP is faltering below previous years. So businesses are going to feel that effect, Minister. What relief programs do you have in the works that are going to help businesses that are affected by tariffs and trade barriers? What are you planning on doing to help those businesses that are suffering?
Yeah, that's the old, what have you done for me lately question.
Yes.
Well, let me start by, philosophically, I like to have a level playing field and let the businesses compete in there, because I have a lot of confidence in the ability of companies to compete, to innovate, to deal with customers. So the starting point is level playing field. To do that, I would challenge anyone in this room to remind me of a government that's cut more taxes than our government in 7.5 years. A gas tax cut, a driver's tax cut, a toll tax cut, a manufacturing tax cut, a corporate tax cut, a small business tax cut, a personal income tax cut. I'm forgetting some kind of tax cuts out there. HST tax cut for first-time home buyers. I had HST cut for companies building purpose-built rentals. No government has cut more taxes. Alcohol tax, that's the one I forgot, alcohol, and I could go on. We've cut taxes, billions and billions, to level the playing field, put more money in the back of individuals' pockets and businesses' pockets so that you can compete. It's important that we continue that trend, and you see us do that continually within our fiscal capacity. Because I mentioned the reality is, by the way, we're not the only province in the world challenged with our healthcare. I see Trillium here, Carly in the room. Our healthcare spending is unsustainable. We just have to deal with reality that we can't keep spending, particularly when our population is flattening, but it's a challenge for not just Ontario with any aging population, but I scared these two old guys out of the room, I guess.
We have a council meeting.
Yeah. I love it when they tried to be discreet. They were like leaning over, kind of like I wouldn't see them.
You know, Minister, every time they leave the room when I'm in it, they say that to go to council. I don't think council meets today, guys.
That's tomorrow. Get there early. The early bird special at council. But thanks for being here, folks. So I think we just have to, we'll do what we can. I think it's important that we lean into core areas, we've been very clear about the areas that we're leaning into. Our nuclear strategy, our energy. I talked about the jobs and the boost in the economy. Our critical minerals. You know, let me spend a second on critical minerals. The West needs it. The developed nations, China has most of them, and processing capability. We have them all in here, but we don't have the ability to mine them and process them here. And we can't do it alone. So the First Nations, the indigenous nations of Webekwe, who the Ring of Fire, they're the First Nation on the land, and Martin Falls, which is the land that the road, the infrastructure would go in. They're not only leading the environmental assessment, they're going to have shovels in the ground in June. And I was with the Prime Minister and the Premier in December, just a few weeks ago, announcing the one project, one permit, so they won't layer on an impact assessment on, and rag the puck for decades, which they were doing previously. It took 15 years on average to get a mine permit in this country. Well, the world has moved on. There's not investing in Canada. We've got it now down to 2 years, and we've got the support from the federal government. It won't be duplicative, and they'll delegate the approval to the First Nations and to the province. Your standards are just fine. That'll get shovels in the ground. We've talked about Ring of Fire for 15, 20 years. Shovels are going in. As soon as the thaws, shovels are going in the ground to start that process. So I think these are the types of things in the environment that we're in that we can do and are doing.
Well, speaking of shovels in the ground, I'm going to bring you to a local issue. The LRT was started several years ago, running up Highway 10. We're not going to talk about the delays. It was supposed to be finished in 2025, I believe it was. Now the projections are out to 2027, 2028. But we're not going to talk about that today. What I'd like to bring your attention to is the loop. So originally, 15 years ago, when the budget was made up for this LRT, it was $1 billion. When it came time to build it, it was going to be $1.4 billion. So they cut out a loop, which looped around Square One. That loop was taken out of the equation. It caused a stopping construction for a Rogers project, which was 10 towers. They cut that back. Other businesses had planned on that loop being in there. The city had done a lot of work on infrastructure. So now we're sitting and wondering, is the loop ever going to happen? Is the money coming for it? Because we've heard yes, we've heard no. Can you give us an answer on that one?
Did you have the Minister of Transportation on your invite list?
I get the feeling he's going to get a call from you.
Yeah. No, I think we're very well aware of the challenges and needs in a great city like Mississauga. And so the loop is an active discussion, for sure. We've obviously supported a lot of transit investment in this community, a lot of healthcare investment in this community, long-term care investment in this community. So it's not a binary. And I think you've heard from the Premier, I mean, our intention is to advance as much as we can. And the loop is an important part of that, but these are active discussions. I can tell you that we're not just looking at Mississauga, but across the province to get more transit built. In fact, it's the biggest part of our $200 billion infrastructure spend. I mean, we've never, 10, 15 years ago, it would have been $100 billion infrastructure spend. We've got to build more, we got to build it faster, and we've got to build it on time. And well, I guess that's the same as faster, and the quality's got to be there. So we've really, the $70 billion is the budget for transit, of which Mississauga is taking a significant part of that, and will continue to be focused on that.
I'm going to turn your attention to our life sciences sector because it's critical to Mississauga. We have a number of life sciences related companies that are in Mississauga, and they're getting battered left, right, and center from years ago when the patent protection on orphan drugs was taken away. We've lost sales, we've lost research and development from that sector as well over the years. So now we're at a critical stage where, quite honestly, Minister, Mississauga is a whistle stop for CEOs in that life sciences sector. They stop here on their way to New Jersey or someplace else. We want to bring that back and make that a vibrant place where they have sales and research and development distribution. What can the province do to support that sector, which is so vital to our community?
Well, first off, it starts with acknowledging the challenge that you just highlighted, and I think we're all seized with that challenge. If Nina Tangri was here, she'd probably grab the microphone and answer that question, because she's been a champion on this, along with Doug Ford, the Premier. They've been in Mississauga with numerous announcements. So acknowledging the challenge is number one. Number two, we have put our money where our mouth is, and that means a number of the investments have been supported by the provincial government, but also an intent through the Life Sciences Invest Ontario Fund. You know, so putting real money, that's interesting. I thought that answer was pretty good.
Little mood lighting going on here, Minister? I don't know what's going on.
That side of the table, room doesn't agree. Okay. So no, we've put our money where our mouth is in investing in life sciences, so a lot of investment in support is going into, including infrastructure support for those same companies in the same industry. I think the message that I want to leave you with, it's definitely got our focus, and we've done stuff and we'll continue to do stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Peter Bethlenfalvy.
Thank you very much, everyone.